Hello and welcome back to the journey with me, your host, Adra Jane. I hope you are well. Today's episode is about overcoming hard things, doing the hard things, and really growing in facing our challenges and learning things from that so that we can apply it to whatever is in front of us and for whatever we're faced with in the future. So, today, I really feel like when I was putting this episode together or thinking about this episode, I thought I wanted to really get into my bag. In the previous episodes, I think I've more given some advice. I definitely give advice, I give my opinions and all of that. And as I said to you before, I've got a background in training and teaching and so on. So I really wanted to give you information so that you can get some real takeaways from this and really implement it into your life. So, I want to start off by saying that. So, if you see me looking down on my notes, if you are watching this episode, then that's why. Um, so, I wanted to start off by asking you to think about your reasons for why you want to overcome or challenge yourself in a new thing, in a hard thing. I think it's really important to think about the whys because this leans to or indicates that we are wanting to grow, we're wanting to develop and become more in certain areas of our lives. And it doesn't always have to be a huge thing. Recently, a friend and I, we went to one of those wall climbing places and they also had trampoline in there. And I had offered to take her children to this establishment. And I planned on participating because why not? But what was so funny is that both of the children, on understanding and hearing that I was going to participate, they proceeded to call me brave, which I thought was hilarious, um, and still makes me laugh because I really do get it. Because I don't think when I was their age, they're both in, oh no, one's in primary school, one's in secondary school. At their age, I didn't have any aunts that would participate in those things with me. Definitely take me, but not climb any walls and not, try to do anything on a trampoline. So, anyway, we went and it was fine. But the thing is, the wall climbing part now, I mean, that in itself is whatever. And for me, I had a bit of a challenge, which I didn't really share with anybody before I did it. So around this time last year, I had a situation. I had frozen shoulder. I don't know if you've ever experienced that before, but I had limitation in the rotation of my shoulders, and so I could only lift my arms so high up. And after getting some blood work done to make sure it was nothing more serious, I then decided to really tackle that, and I practice yoga. I think I may have shared this before. So I just gently but consistently worked on my arms, on my shoulders, on my strength, and eventually gained back my movement, which I was really proud about because I had done my research. I had spoken to medical professionals. I have a masseuse that I regularly use his services, and he was concerned about possible diabetes and things because it's a symptom that could be a symptom of that. So just eliminating everything and realizing that I was in the clear. And by the way, when I had the blood work done, because they did check for diabetes, it came back as better than normal, which I was very happy about. Excuse me. And so, my health is super important to me and I take it seriously, but I'm also not scared that if something comes up, I'd feel like I can tackle it. So, anyway, I did that. I worked on my shoulders, I did some self massage and other therapies. such as some meditation work. I did all the things that I've learned over the years, the visualizations and breathing techniques, especially when the pain was there when I was trying to either massage or do the exercises, the yoga poses to help build and strength and movement range in that area and flexibility. And so when we were climbing the wall, I was really proud of myself that my arm was able to be extended the way it was and to take my weight to take me up. But then the part where I got stuck was when they said, okay, when you get to the top or wherever, how far up you go, on your way back, just let go and you will be brought down. The holster, I think that's what it's called, it's like a seatbelt. So you can't just fall out of the sky. There's a resistance to it. Well, even though the man, as a professional, said that, my common sense and my gut instinct could not compute. I was stuck up there. It felt like for ages. And I was, my friend's videoing me, and we're both laughing. I do think it's funny, but I also am scared. But I knew that I had to get down, and I didn't plan to climb all the way down. So what we did, I think I went down some of the way, I climbed back down some of the way, and then eventually I jumped off. But I intentionally climbed more walls so that I could jump off at higher ranges. And it didn't matter if I had to talk myself into doing it, but I committed to doing it because I'm not going to win a prize for it. But I realized there and then that I need to do more hard things. I've never been a fan of bungee jumping. And things like jumping out of a plane, maybe I would do that one day. But the thought of bungee jumping, I thought it didn't scare me, but I just thought it was something I wasn't really interested in doing. But then doing that, I thought, oh, I wonder if maybe in the back of my mind I was scared. But anyway, I eventually did it. But and when it came to my friend, she also did it as well. She, like me, we struggled with it, but I kept on saying, just try it. And I mean, both of us, when we landed, our hearts were beating out of our chests. You know, I said to her, I just wanted you to do it because you will feel better on the other side of doing it. And she did it. She was amazing. Um, and it just left such a mark on me about the importance of continuing to challenge myself in spite of the fact that those children were climbing the wall as if it was they were just walking down the street. It was very wild to me. They looked like ninjas. And I was very impressed. And I said, oh, when, I don't know if you ever heard the phrase, older people would say, oh, youth is wasted on the young. I can see what they mean by that. But I don't actually think it's wasted on them. I think they're really enjoying being young and using their bodies and being fearless and stuff. And I was like, I love that. I love that for them. And I want that more for me, not just for climbing walls and trampolining, but for doing other things that can really improve my life in the ways that I want. So I just wanted to encourage you there and just say that, if I'm sometimes talking about stuff, it's stuff that I'm also going through, and I'm setting myself new challenges as I continue on my life's journey. I suppose that's why the podcast called The Journey. Um, so I wanted to say that, to give some examples for some of the things that some of you could be dealing with. For example, if you are looking to start a business and you have a skill or a product that you're looking to put out, there's such a benefit in you really challenging yourself to do this. There's the benefits are for the people who you could offer this service to, regardless of whatever's out there in the world. There's no one doing anything like you. If everybody and their dog has got a podcast these days, but if you go online and search for the topic of a podcast that you want to listen to, you will be inundated with options. But you start listening to some and you'll know very quickly, this one's not for me, this one's not for me, that one's not for me. You will find the one that resonates with you, and that's where you'll stick to, or stick. It's, you have the options. And the same as like TV channels. I say the same thing with restaurants. We go to restaurants and there's a whole bunch of stuff on the menu. You don't have to eat it all. You just eat the stuff that you like. And that's what we offer when we have a service or a product, something that we've worked hard on, something that we are passionate about, and we believe that people can benefit from it. It can improve their life, it can answer questions for them, whatever it is. It's important that you go about that. And that will, as I say, for a start, give people something that maybe they're missing and they need. It also gives you an opportunity to develop your business. So many of us are interested in working for ourselves and are committed to building, whether it's one business or you want to have a few services that you offer, whether you want to be a mogul, whatever it is, you have to start somewhere. And so taking that step and offering your service on the multitude of platforms that are available now, what a time to be alive it is. That is what we're looking for. We're looking for you to overcome that challenge so that you can shine and you can be out in the world and connect with people who are looking for you. There's the other opportunity of, if obviously you start a business, that's an opportunity for you to gain income, to make money. And who doesn't need money in this world? It's so funny when we think about money. There's so many books, so many podcasts about money. And if anything, what I find really interesting is the mindset, the conversations about making money. And a lot of times we'll find that we get stuck into not moving or not making certain decisions because there's a mindset that we need to challenge there. And so maybe it might be worthwhile to work a bit backwards and think, what are my challenges to overcoming this? And start working on those things. Do I need to reassess how I think about money? Do I need to think about my fears of putting myself out there, even putting my product or service out there in fear that it will be criticized or pulled apart, whatever it is? What is it? So there's that. It could be, say, for example, another example could be with your health. There are so many diets out there. It's amazing. Let me be positive. It's amazing that there's so many diets out there. But the reality is they can't work for everybody. And you have people who are dealing with some very serious health issues. When I was on my journey of wellness, after lots of research, I realized that because I didn't want to take a medical route, because it wasn't the best option for me, because I want to make it clear that I really do appreciate the medical professionals out there, but not everything, as I said before, is for everybody. So I realized that the best option for me would be to try a more of a holistic and a natural therapy option. And that's what I did. But there's no one watching me. There's nobody following me down the aisles of the supermarket whilst I'm eyeing up the chocolate and the things that I know are not too great for me. That's not to say that I can never eat chocolate, but initially, when I needed to make the biggest changes, my eating habits became quite strict. And initially, I didn't see any changes. And there were some cases that when I took certain herbal remedies, I would get adverse reactions. And I was eventually, I eventually learned that in some cases, it's not always a bad thing. However, my point is, I had to be committed to not giving up. I had to try things. Some of them worked, some of them didn't. And I was committed to myself. I had to think, what is beyond what is on the other side. The other side is wellness. The other side is not having to live my life being caught in a box or in a restrictive um bind of the symptoms I was experiencing. I had got to a point where I was deciding on what I was going to do and when I was going to do it based on how I'll be feeling at that time, or it was really a limited existence. And so I used to remind myself, what's on the other side of this? What could I benefit from sticking to this? And as well as really not only addressing my symptoms but also really getting healthy, I was able to um get to the root cause of this and not just eliminate my symptoms but actually just improve my general all over health. And so it worked out for the best. And also I learned to trust myself. I learned to have more confidence in myself. I learned to be proud of myself. I feel like I developed a level of confidence in my own ability to trust myself, to learn my body, all those things. And so, yeah, I really feel that we should give ourselves the chance to give the other side of where we are a chance to be realized. The other point, so that was number 2. So being clear on the benefits or our whys of facing and overcoming these hard things. Number 2 is a really basic point. We as human beings, let me say that again. Number 2 is a really basic point. We as human beings are built to do hard things. That's it. That's the point. I don't really know what more to say after that, but I'm going to say stuff because it's a podcast. The truth is, from the time we were born, Earthside, and even prior, because now technology is so amazing, we can see all the stages of development in the womb. But once we're born, and as I say, even before, we are being observed and assessed if we are reaching the milestone. Some of us who may be like me in their 40s, the technology wasn't as great then, but now we see so much. And so people are able to see what we need to do even before the baby's born, if the baby needs help. And once the baby's born, it doesn't stop. I think for the first couple of years of its life, there's all these percentiles. You hear the talk. That's why, if you're a mother, you talk about your baby in weeks old, because that's how the medical professionals talk about them, because they are judged, assessed. When I say judged, it's not it doesn't come with emotion. It's just they are assessed and observed to see if they are attaining the milestones for their age for the weeks that they have been born. And a lot of this at that stage is to do with what we as the adults are doing for those children around them. But they grow. You see babies not long after they're born trying to lift their hair, trying to look around, trying to focus. We are programmed to want to do more and want to be more than where we currently are. We're just hardwired that way. So I like to use the example of newborn babies. They all end up walking if they can. You've never seen an adult crawl if they can walk or if they're not drunk. Anyway, but this is what we're dealing with. That's the reality of it. We're never going to give up, and you shouldn't give up either. The older we get, I feel that we get so, I don't know, I feel like we've been sold a dream that settling down is near enough sedentary or some kind of you're fitting yourself into a box lifestyle. And it's as if the fun, creative, expansive, playful, innovative approaches to life, that kind of carefree attitude of taking risk and throwing caution to the wind and just doing new things. It's like, oh, leave that to the young people. I don't get that. And you really see it not only in the way that people very quickly start to look older, start to have ailments, and literally start to become a bit miserable, to the point that even when young people around them are saying that they want to do things or they're doing things, these people, all they want to do is tell them about the pitfalls. You got to be careful because you might fall over, you might injure yourself, or you're going traveling. I remember when I went to Ecuador for my year abroad for my degree, I nearly missed my flight because my uncle decided at the departure, well, it must have been the check-in gates because we weren't allowed to. Anyway, yeah, so it was there that he decided to give me a talk about being careful in Ecuador, because Ecuador, his colleague told him that Ecuador's close to Colombia and the drug situation. What? What are you talking about? You probably live next door to a drug den. I'm joking, but I'm just saying that. What is that? Like, I literally, my stuff is, my bags are probably on a plane now. What do you want me to do with this information? It was just wild to me. It was it was wild. He was like, take care, like have fun. But there was a lot of fear. There was a lot of the be careful, careful, don't take anything for it. I live in London, and I say that to say I'm exposed to so many people from so many different places. And if I'm not streetwise and aware of things in London, I don't know where you're going to be. I'm not saying that I live in the most dangerous or exposed part of the world, no, but I do think that compared to parts of the world where you may not have access to so many people and information, I just think that you can at least do some research. You can find out where you're going and speak to people and blah 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 blah. And it's also funny because when that year that I went away, one of my fellow students, she, I found this really funny, and this is, I mean, do with this what you want, but I remember that she was told by her mother to not go to South America and instead to go to Spain, mainland Spain, because in case anything was to happen regarding family or anything, she could come back home within a couple of hours. At that time, as far as I was aware, because we spoke, we were friends, nobody was sick. There was nothing looming. It was literally a fear thing. And I thought to myself, that's wild. Imagine your child having this opportunity to go somewhere where they may never go again, just because that's how life is. There's that opportunity to learn a language, learn a culture, go somewhere, just be fully immersed. And here you are putting your fears on your child. And I feel that that is what happens to us when we grow up and stop expanding and stop challenging ourselves as we grow. We tend to also try to do that to others, because that has become your new language. That's become the new prism from through which you see your life and other people's lives. Everything is just to prevent something bad from happening. Worse off if you are a mature person and you have friends or family, or you know of people or have heard of people who are your age and you're settled, you're in your life, and here comes your friend and they're not trying to settle down or whatever that looks like. I mean, they're happy to fly around, go out, you know, they've got a home, but maybe they're not trying to create that type of home that you have. How easy is it for you to be able to still be supportive and see that you can still be friends and see that you still have things in common, even though your lives may look very different? Do you feel that somebody living differently than you then creates a situation where you now are, you're on the wrong side of the tracks? I don't know. But this is what I think happens when you stop creating those challenges for yourself, or saying yes to things that are new or hard, because other people that you will see doing these things and doing things that are not really the norm for your age, your stage, your background, whatever it is, will sometimes bring out a side of you that maybe is not the most pleasant. And so I really feel that that is something that we need to be mindful of. We are built to do hard things, and we, to a certain extent, I'm not asking you to go out and start jumping off buildings, start doing parkour for no reason, at least stretch before. But really, there's nothing that comes to your mind that you could put your mind to that really, in some way, shape, or form, you can't make a good attempt at doing it. A lot of times it's our mind. What we're working on here is our mindset. So, the third point I want to end on is being a person that overcomes, deals with your challenges, faces your fears, allows you to become the person that you want to be. And when I say that, who you are in your current state is okay, is fine, is possibly great. But if you're getting anything from this podcast, it's really, my intention here is really to hone in on those of you that want to make a change, that want to face a hard situation, that want to overcome it. When I say that you're becoming, or you're able to become, the person you want to be, this means that you get an opportunity to create a new language for yourself, a new attitude for yourself, a new way of looking at life for yourself. And when you embrace those changes, you can use these skills that you've learned, these tools, to apply to other areas of your life. When you take one situation like me and the wall climbing, I literally was at the top of that wall talking to myself. The same way that we do affirmations and things like that, I call it to myself, I call it G'ing up yourself. So I was G'ing up myself. Go on, Adra, you can do it. You're going to be okay. You've done harder things before. I did all of that up there. And it really was, what's the word, soothing for me? Because I'm used to actually speaking to myself really well. My inner dialogue is something I've worked on. I don't think I had negative in the dialogue. I just don't think I had much. But you will have heard me say before, people can only give you what they've got. So in the past, I think where I may have been quite critical, quite judgmental, very opinionated, I am way more than I am now. Like now, and not like I don't have opinions, but I don't care that much. But when I say don't care, I don't care about other people's things that much. But before, I used to be. So I can only imagine that even though I wasn't negative about myself, maybe there was an air of superiority. That's just me being honest. I, it wasn't actually anything that I believed inherently for myself. I think it was a habit I had adopted, and just some negative traits I'd picked up. Because me, at my core, I believe that we all have the same right to happiness, to pursue whatever life we want to live out our dreams, to be the people we want to be, just to be our full happiest selves, knowing that we won't all look the same, knowing we won't all end up in the same place. It's really okay. I'm a big fan of everybody just being their authentic self. So it felt a lot more comfortable and happier for me to live in my body as the person that is encouraging and supportive and happy for people, openly happy for people, and not to be the one that has that, that kind of attitude about people. It wasn't who I was. And so the person I have become is somebody that is able to speak well about myself, and therefore it's easy for me to now speak well about other people. I also have a different attitude. So, where in the past I may have resisted change or struggled with seeing something different, I realized that by embracing a new thing and what may have been a difficult thing allowed me to become more flexible, a lot more adaptable to change and to new situations. And that has made me a more peaceful person because I don't get so stressed and anxious about things or potential things that could come up in the future. I now have more trust in myself. I have more habits, just daily habits that encourage harder or difficult or new things. They're all in the same family because the reality is that they're different. These things are stretching us. It was actually, I wanted to share another story I had of a situation where a friend of mine had told me about a son of her friend who had developed this obsession with oranges or something. I remember it's a citrus fruit, so let's just say oranges. And he apparently was just eating oranges after oranges after oranges. So as she was telling me this story, she said, this is going on with my friend's son, and it's just so strange. It's just so worrying. And I said, why? And she said, because who eats that many oranges? And I said, but is he getting sick? Is he getting sick? Is he, is it causing a negative reaction? She said, no. She said, but then it's not right for him to eat so many oranges. I said, according to who? Who have you seen turn up at the hospital or get sick or die through eating too much fruit? Now, obviously, there are disclaimers for people who have allergic reactions and may not know that they have them. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about people who clearly are able to eat what they're eating and have no negative reactions. I just didn't understand it. Her thing was just that it's just weird that he would eat so much fruit. And I said, but what's the alternative? If he's still hungry, what else are you going to give him? If it's not the fruit, are you going to give him a snack that's possibly processed? How much of a joy would it be for your children to not only eat fruit, but want to eat fruit? And I just thought to myself, it's so funny the stories that we tell ourselves and the attitudes that we have. And where do they come from? Some people just out of resistance will argue right in front of them. I remember somebody telling me that they are going through the worst symptoms with this condition that they had, but they had such interesting eating habits. When I say interesting, I'm trying not to be judgmental, but I mean, you wouldn't even have to be a nutritional expert to know that what they were eating was rubbish. It was, lots of pastries and carbs, processed stuff, lots of breads and I think pastries in the morning and sandwiches. But they felt that the one smoothie a week or every couple of days they had would help them. And maybe for the average person, it'll be fine. But when you know that you're that poorly, you need to make more of an effort and more of a commitment to yourself because you deserve it. You owe it to yourself. But it was interesting having this conversation with this adult that was acknowledging, because they were telling me what they ate. I wasn't even really asking. They told me they were unwell, and then I said, well, our diet is super huge. And our diet is super important. And they went on to tell me what they had to eat for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And at each stage, they were justifying what they were eating and and it was just, I just thought, we're adults. We're adults. How long are you going to have these excuses for? The croissant's a croissant. And the thing is that, When you make these changes, when you overcome these things, it doesn't mean that you can never go back to doing what you ever did before. It just means that you have more range. That's all. You just stretched yourself. So instead of saying, well, I only walk this distance, I can walk a further distance. So some days I can just walk 1 mile. Other times I can walk 10 because I can. It doesn't mean you'll never walk 1 mile again. I just think to some people, the idea of change is more fearful than it is liberating. There's an opportunity here to be free of habits, attitudes, language that doesn't serve us. So I want to end off here by giving you something that maybe could be helpful for you when you are in moments of, say, stillness, or you feel stuck because you want to make movement in an area that has either become stagnant, or you know there's something you need to do. Maybe there's a conversation you need to have with somebody. Maybe there's someone you need to reach out to ask for help and advice. As I said before, maybe there's a business you want to start. Maybe there's a decision on your health or with your family that you need to pay attention to. Let me give you some words that maybe will be able to help you in those moments. So you can start off by saying to yourself, I can do this. I have done lots of hard things before and I have smashed them. I am built to do hard things. I am becoming a better version of myself. And lastly, I, insert your name, am so proud of myself. And these are things that you can say to yourself before, during, and after you are doing these hard things, because you deserve everything. We all deserve everything. And just to leave you with the fact that there are no limits. There's no limits to the things that you want and no limits to the things you can achieve. So until the next time, take care. Bye.